Okay, hello.
Welcome to the Workings of Karma lecture series. This is based on the book by the same name. The program structure is as follows. First, we start off with meditation. This is followed by the lecture. We have a questions and answers session scheduled after the lecture. After the questions and answers session, we conclude the program. For the questions and answers session, please post your questions in the Facebook and YouTube chat or comment section in the live video. This program continues on every Wednesday at the same time, that is, 2 p.m. Coordinated Universal Time or Greenwich Mean Time. This translates to 7:30 p.m. Sri Lanka and India time. Please note and convert this time to your local time and join us every week for this enlightening Dharma talk series by a very erudite monk. Today's lecturer has a bachelor's degree in Buddhist philosophy and religious studies from the Buddhist and Pali University of Sri Lanka. Also, the Venerable has studied under guidance of notable teachers for 5 years. Now we invite the Most Venerable Teacher to start the meditation session, followed by the Dharma talk and questions and answers session. The meditation session will start now. This will be followed by the lecture.
Okay, so we will probably have internet connection issues today. So let's see what can we do. But in case if I lose the connection for more than 5 minutes, take it as that the session finished and we will have to continue next week. So we can sit in a comfortable meditation posture. Let's take 10 minutes of meditation. And as we are sitting in a comfortable meditation posture with the back erect, side cast down, we can make the first determination in our minds voicelessly. From now on, for 10 minutes, I will meditate on muscles and radiate loving kindness without any movement. From now on, for 10 minutes, I will meditate on muscles and radiate loving kindness without any movement. From now on, for 10 minutes, I will meditate on muscles and radiate loving kindness without any movement. And with that determination, we can gently, lovingly notice there's a flat piece of flesh at the top of the head. It's a sinew. We allow it to be heavy and changing. Continue in this manner, accepting change and heaviness, weight in the other muscles and sinews throughout the body, to the forehead, eyes, nose, lips, chin, cheeks, ears, back of the head. We allow all of the muscles and sinews throughout the head to be happy and changing. We continue to the fingers, tipped fingers, chest, abdomen, sinews to be We continue to the buttocks, thighs, knees, calves, heels, soles, toes, tips of toes, we allow all of the muscles and sinews throughout the body to be heavy and changing. And as we allow the bodies, we achieve freedom from worry about the body. Let's enjoy this freedom. Let's watch this peace. When we are established in peace, we can share it with other living beings. We can start in our role. We don't force, we don't expect, just allow. May all beings beings in this row be in peace. And we can gradually expand. May all beings in this building be in peace. May all beings in this city or village be in peace. May all beings in this country be in peace. May all beings on this planet be in peace. May all beings on this planet be in peace. May all beings, including me, be in peace. Now, because the time for the sitting is finished, let's make the last determination. From now on, I will always be calm. From now on, I will always be calm. From now on, I will always be calm. And with that determination, we can slowly, mindfully change the way of our sitting. And we can take one more minute to enjoy the peace we gained in meditation. Very well. So this is all for meditation.
Lecture will start now. A questions and answers session will be held after the lecture. Post your questions in the Facebook and YouTube chat or comments section.
Okay, so today we will be talking about Dhamma. Previously, you may have seen the word karma in this presentation, but we have successfully changed it to Dhamma, and so that's what we're going to talk about. We follow a book from 𝗀𝗶𝗸𝗲, as you have probably heard, and the style is that I'm reading the book and I'm providing some additional information or emphasis or whatever it is that I would like to share with you regarding the portion that I have highlighted for you and for me as well. Okay. So I'll be sharing my screen. So last time we were talking about the qualities of a noble disciple who is disciplined through the qualities that are missing in an undisciplined disciple. So we'll be continuing in that, and then let's see where the book takes us. So true men are the same as noble ones, for noble ones are true men, and true men are noble ones. So the idea is that a real good person is enlightened. And it doesn't mean necessarily that if you're not enlightened or if you don't know the Four Noble Truths or if you still have greed, hatred, ignorance, that you are evil. What it rather means is that you are prone, or there is a higher probability that you may become evil in comparison to somebody who's enlightened. So the idea here is to basically scare us. This scaring is a very common feature in our scriptures, and it seems that it works. What you may like to know is that the Buddha teaches in three ways, mainly in three ways. Either the Buddha encourages. So the Buddha says, do this, it will take you to heaven, it will take you to Nibbana. Or the Buddha threatens. So the Buddha says, if you do this, you will go to hell, or you will suffer as an animal or as a ghost, or you will continue in the round of rebirth, birth, old age, illness, and death. And the third method of the Buddha's teachings is both in the way of encouraging and discouraging. So at this point of this book, we are talking about the discouraging style. So true men are the same as noble ones. If you want to be a noble person, if you want to be true, you will need to become enlightened. If you're not enlightened, something is not right with you. It's possibly right with you now, but it might not be right anytime later. So to make sure that everything is right with you, that means to make sure that you do not fall into the wrong view of self, to make sure that you do not get a doubt about the Buddha's teachings, and so you continue in practicing generosity, ethics, meditation, to make sure that you do not start to engage in wrong practices, such as killing fish and donating it to the deities, or killing some other animals and donating them to the gods, or the idea that telling lies is actually helpful, or any other ascetic practices, or any ascetic practices. Telling lies is not an ascetic practice, but any practices that you may follow, that you may decide, which are, however, not in accordance with the Buddha's teachings, they are also abandoned by the first level of enlightenment. At the second level of enlightenment, even greed and hatred still appear in the mind of the person, but they're much less than in the person who attains the first level of enlightenment. So suppose that a dog was cloak bound. So cloak bound means that the dog has apparently a piece of wood hanging on their neck and covering their legs. So it's hanging right in front of their legs. And when the dog is running, this piece of wood hits the legs, and so it's painful. Therefore, the dog does not run. So a dog was cloak bound, and to a strong post or pillar was bound close. It would keep going around and circling around the same post or pillar. So two monks, an uneducated person who did not understand the Four Noble Truths and doesn't follow ethics, considers the five aggregates as self, not just together, but even separately. So it seems that in the Buddha's time, some people believe that their body is their self. Actually, we get that today, especially in the scientific community. People believe that their self is their body, that it's this material body. Or the feelings are self, or the perceptions or formations, which here I dare to believe that it means intentions. So one's intention, and then consciousness. So an uneducated person, somebody who's not enlightened, may still believe that one of the five aggregates is actually themselves, is the person, or that their self is included in the five aggregates, or that the five aggregates are somehow included in their self. Okay, each of the five aggregates may in four ways be regarded somehow as self. That gives 20, each of the five aggregates, yes. That gives 20 types of identity view, sakkaya ditthi, the wrong view of identity. So what are those four ways? So as self, or self as having materiality, or materiality as in self, or self as materiality. So for the feelings, it's the same thing. So it would be feelings as self, or self as having feelings, or feeling as in self, or self as in feeling, and so on and on for the five aggregates. So, just as a candlelight and flame are identical, so may one think one's materiality and self are identical. But candlelight and flame are totally different. So, a wise person understands, okay, so this is candlelight and this is the flame, and they are different. Okay, you cannot have a candlelight without flame, and you probably will not have a flame without the candlelight. However, they're different features. And in the same way, in this body, these five aggregates, they're different features that make up the body. Just as a tree possesses a shadow, so may one think one's self, mentality possesses materiality. So that's wrong. There's no possession. It's just about cause and effect. There is cause, then it happens. If there is no cause, it doesn't happen. The smell is in the flower. In the same way, one may think one's materiality is inside one's self, mentality. So it now actually describes the different misperceptions of the five aggregates in relation to one's self. The ruby is inside the box. In the same way, one may think one's self is inside one's materiality, like believing that yourself is in your heart or in your brain, and so on. So that's wrong. These four similes, the candlelight and flame, the tree and its shadow, the flower and its smell, and the box and the ruby, describe the four types of identity view. Okay, that's what we just said. So the term has yet other meanings. Yes, that's for formations. We already talked about formations last meeting, so I'll a little bit brush off. So formations are especially of three kinds. So first kind of formations is the formations that you learn in Abhidhamma. Those are the 50 Cetasikas. It's very common for people to believe that formations are Cetasikas, but even though that may be true, it's not related to our practice. The Buddha explained in the Sattatthana Sutta, I think of Samyutta Nikaya, interestingly. The Buddha explains there that we should watch formations as our intention, sanchetana. So it's very different from Abhidhamma that takes formations as ethical and unethical mental states. Then another kind are the intentions that we make based on ignorance. So, for example, intention to give, intention to steal, and so on. So these intentions are based on ignorance. Our intentions, whether good or bad, they count as this special kind of formations. So even the Buddha has actually intentions, but they are not influenced by the defilement. So we are coming to another kind of formations. That's the formation which is very natural in the five aggregates. So all of us have five aggregates. Even the Buddha had five aggregates. And formations is one of the five aggregates. So what kind of formations did the Buddha have? Well, the Buddha had formations that are not dependent on ignorance. And so they are no more the kind of formations that are dependent on ignorance. So, how do you distinguish them in the speech? Yes, so those that are dependent on ignorance are called 𝗷𝗶𝗸𝗲, the higher formations. Those that are not, yes, and they also can be called kamma. But then there are formations that are not dependent on ignorance, because the ignorance is entirely eradicated. For example, in an arahant or in a Buddha. So in that case, these formations are specifically called kiriya. Okay, so that's the action, the activity of an arahant, which is not based on ignorance, and therefore it does not produce new karma. Okay, so what else do we have? In 5 cases where one regards self as directly identical to either materiality, feeling, perception, formations, or consciousness, it is a manifestation of the annihilation view, 𝗀𝗀𝗃𝗃. So now we are going to learn how these self views are actually dangerous and how they're related to the different philosophical views already present during the Buddha's time. So in 5 cases out of those 20, where one regards self as directly identical to other materiality, um, so then it is manifestation of the annihilation view. Why? Because they perish. And with the idea that yourself is within these 5 aggregates, well then, upon perishing of these 5 aggregates, there is perishing of the self. The self doesn't exist because the self simply is not there. There's no power that we have over the body or the mind or others. So no self there, nothing that you can take in order to make a kind of like a lever. There's this saying, I don't know who said that, Socrates or somebody else, that give me a stabilized point in the universe and I will it's like when you have a leader, then the leader should be a stable person who you can trust, who you can rely on, who has knowledge, who has understanding, and who knows what's the goal. So a leader then is a reliable person, and that leader, through the reliable. Okay, so it seems that connection was lost. Is it still lost? So I'm waiting for the feedback to see whether we are connected or not. Okay, now we are reconnected. You lost about 3 minutes. Oh, that's amazing. And I actually get the message only when we are reconnected, right? Because when the connection is lost, then I cannot get the message that the connection is lost. Isn't that amazing? So, 3 minutes. That's amazing. Okay, so I will simplify. So the idea is that if you want to make change in the world very reliably, you need to have a reliable point. And based on that point, you can start making big things. So, for example, if you have a leader is a reliable person who you can trust, who has who knows what's the goal. And if a leader is the reliable person, well, then it's possible for the leader make use of this stabilized point, that means his character, to lead the people. So the more stabilized point you have, the more power you have. But there is this truth that there is no stabilized point at all. So there is nothing stable, nothing reliable. Even the best leader at one point can fail or not do something that you would expect them to do. And so the idea with the 𝗀𝗃𝗃𝗃, or with the wrong view of nihilism, is that if the 5 aggregates are not stable, well then upon death they perish. And if they perish, then there cannot be something new. So that's because of the idea within the 5 aggregates. Okay. For example, if you have, what could you have? Yeah, you could have the flame and the fire. So you have their flame and the light. So upon destroying the flame, the light is gone. Upon destroying the light, um, the flame is still not gone, but upon destroying the flame, the light is gone. So in the same way here, it's believed that upon destroying the five aggregates, the self is destroyed. But ignorance, but ignorance doesn't work that way. Okay, ignorance is not so much dependent on nature, because ignorance just is there, it's available in the stream of consciousness, and it just waits until it brings its result, be it positive or negative. It would be interesting to measure ignorance of the world. So nihilism, annihilationism is the belief that after death we die, because with five aggregates dead, the soul surely should also die. If you do not believe in soul, well, then it's a different story. The annihilation view arises also because one has not discerned the workings of dependent origination. Yeah, well, that's an idea, but I worry. I would like to suggest that there is some even more important reason. Why would why would someone follow the rules? So the rules can be followed. The rules can be followed, and the teachings can be followed if you understand that there are causes and consequences. If you do not understand that there are causes and consequences, that your actions bring repercussion, then of course you will not care whether you do good or bad. You just do whatever you want. Okay, now alternative view is another reason why some people believe in self in the five aggregates. So, in the remaining 15 cases where one regards self as possessing mentality or materiality, self as containing mentality or materiality, or self as contained in mentality or materiality, it is a manifestation of the eternity view, the wrong view that when one dies, one's self lives on into eternity. So basically, any kind of belief in self, except when it is the same as materiality, leads you to the belief in eternal view. That means after death, this self that's somehow embedded or not embedded in the body and the mind, it will actually continue to the heaven, and then the God or maybe the nature or something else will form one's self into an angel. Okay, they will. There's this belief that the God will form. Yes, that they will make the five aggregates eternal. Okay, that's another way to think of it. Or there is a modern belief, or I believe it is modern but not sure, or maybe inspired by Hinduism. But there is a modern belief in the US among American Christians that upon death, the soul, so there's the belief that we have the soul, will actually rejoin the God in such a way that the God will just contain us. So our soul will become an indivisible part of God. Some think of it as if you have a bowl with water, and then you pour a little bit of water into a cup. And so it seems that the water in the cup and the water in the bowl are different. And then you will take the water in the cup, and then you will pour it into the bowl with water. And so the water is unified. You cannot say, oh, this particular water was the water in the cup, or that one is the water in the cup. No, you cannot say that. It's all together. It's the one. So this is the way how I understand the Hinduist or Brahmanist view of soul, and merging of the soul, the Atman, into the universal soul called Brahma. But we do not believe in this in Buddhism, because in Buddhism we explain things through conditionality. So if there is a cause, there is effect. If the cause is missing, the effect is missing. All right, so that's, I think, more than enough. A lot of knowledge, a lot of new things for today. So I would like to suggest that we move on to questions and answers. And if there is anything you would like to know, anything you would like to ask, something you disagree, or you would like to share with me some knowledge that you think I may appreciate or that I may not appreciate, anything at all, please let us know in the comments.
Questions and answers session will start now. Post your questions in the Facebook and YouTube chat or comments section.
Okay, so I see here several questions. How many types of identity views are there in other schemes? Identity view. The Buddha most importantly teaches three. The Buddha most importantly teaches three, and these three are included in the discourse on not self, Anatta Lakkhana Sutta. And I would like to point you towards the great discourse on not self given by 𝗀𝗍 𝗶𝗶𝗸𝗲. So 𝗀𝗍 𝗶𝗶𝗸𝗲 was a very famous and very powerful and influential master in Myanmar, and he has given several discourses, I think about 8 or 10, regarding this discourse, Anatta Lakkhana Sutta. These discourses were then written down in Burmese and summarized and translated into English. The English version has about 80 pages in the version that I have read, but you may read some books where the text is a little larger, so they have more pages. It's an amazing book, and I personally believe it's the best book for anyone to study the basics of the Buddhas. So it's called the Great Discourse on Not Self, and it was written by 𝗀𝗍 𝗶𝗶𝗸𝗲. Unfortunately, this book is not that famous online. It is there, but it's not so famous. Why? I don't know. But again, I want to stress, in my opinion, I believe that this is the best book to read, to understand the Buddha's teachings. The best of all in the world, of all that I have ever read. Okay, so the Buddha explains three kinds of identity view. Three. So here you had 20, but these 20 kinds of identity view are not really are not that really typical for the Buddha. The Buddha simplified into three. Etang mama, eso me atta, eso hamasme. Etang mama, it is mine. Eso me atta, this is myself. Eso hamasme, this is me. So, etang mama, it's mine. That means I have power over that. For example, the body. I have power over the body. That's also a kind of identity view, of self-view. Eso me atta, this is my soul. This is myself. So it's not really me, but it is the core of me. So, for example, the body is the core of me and it is reliable. Eso hamasme, that is me. This is I. So these are three kinds of identity view that the Buddha most commonly, most most prominently, most often explains to the monks and warns the monks that these self-identity views lead to the view of eternalism or nihilism. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Are there beings with less than 5 aggregates? There are, according to Theravada Buddhism, there are beings who have 1 aggregate and beings who have 4 aggregates. You may have heard that maybe in these worlds where the beings have 4 aggregates or 1 aggregate, that the other aggregate is there, but it's very subtle. However, in our scriptures, in the Theravada Buddhism, we totally, absolutely reject that idea. Nope. There's only that 1 aggregate, or only the 4 aggregates, and nothing else. So, for example, in the world of Asanya Satta, all of these worlds where there are only 1 aggregate or 4 aggregates require that in this life you will achieve very deep levels of concentration. Without them, you cannot become a being with less than 5 aggregates. So, very deep levels of concentration, which are dependent on very high level of ethics, but with the belief that, for example, body is wicked. And with the belief that body is wicked and the desire to get rid of the body, well, then you may meditate, you may achieve very deep levels of concentration, and then be born in the world of mind, how to call that, mind beings. So there you have only mind, no matter at all. So you would be still enjoying some peace and so on, but there is no body at all. And this would be in the world, or there are 4 worlds like that, where everybody is like that. So you're not a weirdo who has no body and just mind. No, not at all. Nobody in that world has a body. And similarly, there is a world. So what are those 4? So those are the 4 aggregates: feelings, perceptions, intentions, and consciousness. But then there is another world where you get only 1 aggregate, and that's the body. That's for the beings called Asanya Satta, those beings who do not have a perception. To be born in that world, you also need to work very hard in your meditation practice, achieve deep level of concentration. In this case, you would, however, believe that only the body is not wicked, only the mind is wicked. So, with this belief, you may be born in that. You may be born in that world of the so-called non-percipient beings. So these are the worlds where you do not have all 5 aggregates. Otherwise, everywhere else you have complete 5 aggregates. If you are born in a world like that, you will die after some time. Wherever you are born, you will die. There is no world where you can live eternally. But it is possible to remove the condition so that the effect also is removed. And when the condition and the effect are removed, then there is no more no more birth, old age, illness, and death in the life. So when you can remove the cause and effect, well, you can remove them through removing the ignorance. If you remove the ignorance, then the cause for making karma, the cause for greed, hatred, ignorance are gone. And therefore, you do not engage in these 3. And therefore, what remains is knowledge and its wisdom. So then you have a very high wisdom which you can then use to help others and yourself as well. Okay, so this is all for 5 aggregates. We can move on to the next question. How does the self-view arise? I don't know. And the Buddha did not really explain. The self-view has been here for billions and billions of lives. And people just have been nourishing it. People just haven't been growing it. And if somebody says that there is no self, the people get so angry and disappointed. No, there's no self. But you would be more satisfied with your question if you asked, how does the not self view arise? Well, not self view arise through Not self-view arise through wisdom, through meditation. Self-view is maintained through ignorance. So if you can remove ignorance, well, then you can also remove self-view. But until then, self-view is always there. The tendency for self-view. You do not always think, I am, or this is mine, or like that. Hopefully, you do not think like that always. But there is the tendency that you will think like that when the necessary conditions arise. And that is the problem here. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Why do people gyrate towards extreme view? So let's make sure what is gyrate. I already have some kind of understanding, but let's make sure whether I have understood. Revolve quickly and repeatedly around one's own axis. So why would people revolve quickly and repeatedly around their own axis? I see. And that would be, and what would be the axis? Probably the extreme views. So why do people tend to incline? Why do people incline to have wrong views? Probably because it's easier. To have the right view, you have to make more effort. You have to be generous. You have to practice morality. You have to practice meditation. So that's a little bit troublesome, especially for people who don't want to live ethically or who believe that they're killing another person if they themselves didn't do it by their own hand, will not kill anyone. And that is not a bad, the point is that it would not be a bad idea, but actually it is still a very bad idea. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. How does the concept of soul arise? Many civilizations have this concept. That's right, and many religions as well. That's why the Buddha is so special, that he came up and he discovered something that's extremely hard to discover, that's extremely hard to experience and find out from oneself. And maybe you have already noticed that I'm getting extremely tired. So it was a pleasure to see everybody. I would like to ask the organizer to write down the notes. Sometimes it's very hard to get the comments, so I'm taking screenshot of the comments. When we finish the broadcasting, your comments may not appear under YouTube, but they may appear later, let's say after 1 week or sometime later. But to me, they appear here right away. So thank you everybody for coming, and may you be happy, may you be healthy, and may you be successful in everything you do.
Concludes today's lecture on the workings of karma. This series is held every Wednesday at the same time, that is, 2 p.m. Coordinated Universal Time or Greenwich Mean Time. This translates to 7:30 p.m. Sri Lanka and India time. Please note your local time and join us every week. Let us take a moment to share merits with everyone now. Stay tuned for more content like the workings of karma. We are working hard to bring practical insights from Buddhism to improve your lives and the world at large. To get notified about new releases and also to help us spread the word, if you haven't already done so, please consider liking, sharing, subscribing, commenting and turning on notifications. Also, please consider watching some of our other content. We also have content in other languages too. Also, please consider subscribing to our other language channels. Hoping to see you again in our live programs.